Well, the picture is The In-Laws, and these are two of the creative people behind it. Arthur Hiller, the director, and Andrew Bergman, the writer. And Arthur, I think that people who see this picture are going to come out of it, and the one thing they've got to be impressed with is the wonderful chemistry between Alan Arkin and Peter Falk.
No question. I think their chemistry and the fact that the characters that Andrew created and that obviously that Peter and Alan play are so likable that you feel for them and you're with them. Otherwise, you don't in a comedy situation you don't accept as much if you're not really caring for those people.
You have worked with some of the major comedy actors in this whole business, Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor,
Right.
and Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon, and now Peter Falk and Alan Arkin. And not that I want you or expect you to do a big comparison one against the other, but what are some of the characteristics of each one of those people, Arthur, that you deal with as a director?
Well, what each one of those has, what they have in common and what makes them so good is not that they are comedians, but that they are actors with comic abilities. And I think that's the key to all their success.
Are some more disciplined than others? Now, we all know Richard Pryor is off the wall, outrageous,
But
etc.
he's disciplined. Oh, yeah, he's disciplined. He works. Each of those scenes is the way we rehearsed, or the way it was constructed, the way it was written. Each one of those people is disciplined. Again, that's because they are actors, and each one of them has a respect for his craft, and I think that's important too, that they care about what they're doing.
Of all of them, which one is the most secure?
You'll never answer that.
I'm not really sure that I know the answer to that. I really don't know.
Matthau, maybe?
I'm too insecure to be able to judge.
Matthau?
Possibly. I think that's possible. It really is hard to tell because it's you don't always get the degree of insecurity of the feelings of the actors when you're working with them. I find that they are all insecure, and that, for instance, the directorial role is that of Daddy. I mean, Daddy has to give them a feeling of security, and Daddy has to give them a little space for them to do their kind of work, and Daddy has to slap them on the wrist, and Daddy has to pat them on the back. They all need that, but that's true in every director-actor relationship.
Andrew, I must ask you, as the writer, if you had any particular inspirations for some of the things we see in In-Laws. For instance, the scene with the dictator and Senor Pepe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what brought
Well,
that
I remember
up?
as a kid watching the Ed Sullivan Show. He used to bring out Senor Wences at least once a month, and it just always put me away. I just thought that was just so funny, and something so Latin about it. I mean, it was just it was so intense. I mean, to make you believe that this fist was a character. So when I was conceiving of this general, who was just a compendium of kind of Latin cliches and insanities, I just immediately thought, I sat at the typewriter and suddenly started screaming. I said, of course, that's it. He's got to do Senor Wences with the water and all, full bore, flat out crazy.
Well, it put me away, too, as the people who are around me will attest.
It works, yeah.
And then the serpentine scene.
The serpentine, that goes back to college. There was a friend of mine who, when we played football, you play touch football out in the lawn when I was away in college in Binghamton, New York. And whenever we'd break out of a huddle, he'd say, serpentine, serpentine. He'd want all of us to come out of the huddle like this. And when he sees the picture in Portland, Oregon, my friend Larry Kressel, when he sees this picture, he's going to send me a bill, I'm sure, for the serpentining, because that's how that started. He was a stickler for serpentining in a football game.
And Alan is so funny. He moves funny. Arthur, did you tell him how to move that serpentine?
No, that moving is his own moving.
He has the funniest run.
Yes,
it could be. It's like silent comedy. It
Yes.
really is. It's the funniest run I've seen since, I don't know, Buster Keaton. It's just fantastic.
You mean he always runs that way?
That's how he runs.
That's his running.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, sometimes you gain by an accident. One moment of the serpentining after he leaves the Jesus Braunschweiger on the ground and goes back to the car. There's one point where he arrives at the car, and Peter says, "Serpentine, serpentine," and Alan runs back, and that came out of a mistake. I miscued Peter, so the timing was wrong. But Alan, as an actor, kept going, and it turned out to be marvelously funny, and that's what we have in the film.
Of course, you wrote Blazing Saddles, which Mel Brooks did.
Mm-hmm.
What if Mel had done this picture? Would it have been different? How?
Very. First of all, we would have rewritten it.
Mel would have rewritten.
Well, no, I would have
Oh.
rewritten it with him, and I did that once in my life. I now really feel I have my own kind of comic credentials. I feel like having my stuff done as close to as written as possible. It would have been. I don't think it could be much wilder than this picture is. But I mean, this picture is very much. In some ways, it's like a screwball comedy of the 30s. I mean, you're with the characters, you love the characters, you always believe in their reality. I think Mel's pictures operate on a more surreal level than this picture does. So I think this is not a Mel Brooks comedy, I don't think. Funny as it is.
Yeah, despite its extravagance as it is, we try to keep the feeling of real. So you say, well, this is ridiculous. Well, it could happen. You
Yeah.
say, well, it could. Obviously, it's not what normally happens, but it is something, it could happen each stage of the way. And if your characters play with that believability, you do get the feeling that it's really genuinely happening. And that, I think, adds to the humor of it.
Well, it's been fun seeing the movie and very enjoyable talking with both of you.
Well,
Thank you so much.
We had fun making it.
Yeah, it's just.
I'll go and have a little soft drink.
Soft drink. We better wait for the sound. Well, that's okay. This is just reaction stuff, so we're fine.
Okay. Arthur, there just seems to be such a fantastic relationship and chemistry, if you will, between Peter Falk and Alan Arkin in this movie. Arthur, now you have worked with some of the greatest comedy actors in the business. Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor, Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, and now Peter Falk and Alan Arkin. Not that I want you to compare them, but what are some of the characteristics that you find in them as a director? Okay. Andrew, there are many, many funny scenes in this movie, but one that just wiped me out. The Latin American dictator and the little Senor Pepe character. Now, what was the inspiration for that? What about then the serpentine scene? How did that come about in your mind? Andrew, you wrote Blazing Saddles, which Mel Brooks did, and of course you have written, let's start again, okay. Andrew, you wrote Blazing Saddles.
Once again, please.
Okay. Andrew, you wrote Blazing Saddles, which Mel Brooks did, and now this is your work. If Mel Brooks had done this, would it have been a different product? Okay.